Thomas likes to tease Gordon with his whistle. And off Thomas ran laughing. Gordon, the proud engine, began making his plan to teach Thomas a lesson for teasing him. Almost before the coaches had stopped moving, Gordon reversed quickly and was coupled to the train. Maybe I don't have to tease Gordon to feel important, Thomas thought to himself, and he puffed slowly home. Maybe I don't have to tease Gordon to feel important, Thomas thought to himself, and he puffed slowly home. He liked shunting. It was fun playing with freight cars. He would come up quietly and give them a push. Then he would stop and the silly freight cars would go bump into each other. Edward played till there were no more freight cars. Gordon was very cross. Instead of nice shining coaches, he was pulling a very dirty freight train. A freight train, a freight train, a freight train, he grumbled. Edward laughed and went to find some more freight cars. I can't do it, said Gordon. The noisy freight cars hold an engine back so. Edward's driver came up. He forgot all about kind Edward and didn't say thank you. Edward was left out of breath and far behind, but he was happy because he had been so helpful. At the next station, he found that the driver and fireman were very pleased with him. The conductor blew his whistle till he had no more breath and waved his flag till his arms ached. Then along came Sir Topham Hatt, the man in charge of all the engines on the island of Sodor. We will pull you out, said Sir Topham Hatt. Everyone pulled except Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt said, 1, 2, 3, push! The conductor waved his red flag and stopped him. Eventually, even Sir Topham Hatt gave up. We shall take away your rails, he said, and leave you here until you're ready to come out of the tunnel. They took up the old rails and built a wall in front of Henry so that other engines wouldn't bump into him. All Henry could do was to watch the trains rushing through the other tunnel. How long do you think Henry will stay in the tunnel before he overcomes his fear of the rain and then decides to journey out again? How long do you think Henry will stay in the tunnel before he overcomes his fear of the rain and then decides to journey out again? Like Sir Topham Hatt, I'd like to come out of the tunnel, but Henry didn't know how to ask. I'd like to come out of the tunnel, but Henry didn't know how to ask. And there was proud Gordon going slower and slower. Huh, said Sir Topham Hatt. These big engines are always causing me trouble. Send for another engine at once. While the conductor went to find one, they uncoupled Gordon, who had enough puff to slink onto the siding out of the way. Yes, said Sir Topham Hatt, I will. Have a run to ease your joints and find a turntable, said Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt leaned out of the window to wave at Edward and Henry, but the train was going so fast that his hat blew off into a field, where a goat ate it for tea. The passengers all said, thank you, and Sir Topham Hatt promised Henry a new coat of paint. The conductor and station master walked up and down. Sir Topham Hatt came to see what was the matter, and the conductor and the station master told him about Henry. Anyhow, Thomas started without his coaches. As he passed the first signal tower, men waved and shouted, but he didn't stop. The signalman ran up. Hello, Thomas, he said. What are you doing here? Poor Thomas was so sad, he nearly cried. At the station, all the passengers were talking at once. They were telling Sir Topham Hatt what a bad railway it was. Afterwards, the other engines laughed at Thomas and said, look, there's Thomas who wanted to pull a train, but forgot about the coaches. But Thomas had already learned not to make the same mistake again. I've got some freight cars to take home tomorrow. Next morning, Edward and Thomas asked their drivers, and when they said yes, Thomas ran off happily to find freight cars. Now, the freight cars are silly and noisy. Edward knew all about freight cars. The conductor blew his whistle, but the freight cars weren't ready. All right, don't fuss. All right, don't fuss, grumbled the cars. But the cars grew crosser and crosser. At last, Thomas slowed down as he came to Gordon's Hill. Steady now, steady, warned the driver as they reached the top. He began to put on the brakes. We're stopping, called Thomas. No, answered the cars, bumping into each other. Go on, Before the driver could stop them, they had pushed Thomas down the hill and were rattling and laughing behind him. Stop pushing, he hissed, but the cars took no notice. There watching him was Sir Topham Hatt. What are you doing here, Thomas? He asked. I've brought Edward's freight cars, Thomas answered. Why did you come so fast? I didn't mean to. I was pushed. You've got a lot to learn about freight cars, Thomas. After pushing them about here for a few weeks, you'll know almost as much about them as Edward. Then you'll be a really useful engine. Every day, Sir Topham Hatt came to the station to catch his train. Hello, he always said to Thomas. Don't let the silly freight cars tease you. Remember, you have an important job as a special helper in the train yard. There were lots of freight cars, and Thomas worked very hard pushing and pulling them into place. The cranes are for lifting heavy things, like engines and coaches and freight cars. A freight train came rushing through much too fast. On, laughed the freight cars. I'd like to teach those freight cars a lesson, said Thomas the tank engine. Bother those freight cars and their tricks. I hope poor James isn't hurt. Never mind, James, they said. It was those silly freight cars on your old wooden brakes that caused the accident. Then he pulled away the unhurt freight cars. This'll teach you a lesson. This'll teach you a lesson, he told the freight cars. They left the broken cars. Then with 2 cranes, they put James back on the rails. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting anxiously for them. You're a special mixed traffic engine, said Sir Topham Hatt. You can pull coaches or freight cars quite easily, but you must learn by your mistakes. James knew what Sir Topham Hatt meant. He could well remember that dreadful accident on his first day. Be careful with the coaches, James, said kind little Edward. They don't like being bumped. A shower of water fell on Sir Topham's nice new top hat. Just then the conductor blew his whistle and James thought they had better go. But no one seemed to know about Sir Topham's new hat, so James felt happier. Oh, that's my conductor's whistle. I must go. I don't know what Sir Topham Hatt would do without me to run this branch line, and he puffed off importantly. James was still wondering what Sir Topham would have to say about his new hat. Next morning, he spoke severely to James. If you can't behave, I shall take away your red coat and have you painted blue. James didn't like that at all. We're going to stop, they said. We're going to stop. What's the matter? James asked his driver. How shall we mend it? Said the conductor. Well, where is the bootlace coming from? Asked the conductor. Ask the passengers, said the driver. You have a leather bootlace there, I see, sir, said the conductor to a smartly dressed man. Please give it to me. I won't, said the man. Then, said the conductor, I'm afraid the train will just stop where it is. James had not been out to push coaches or freight cars in the yard for several days. He was feeling miserable. Oh dear, he thought, I wonder how long I shall have to stay in the shed. Will anyone see my red coat again? Why did I go so fast that I made a hole in one of my coaches that had to be mended with, of all things, a passenger's bootlace? At last Sir Topham Hatt arrived. I know you are sorry, James, he said, and I know too that you want to be a useful engine. People are laughing at my railway, and I do not like that at all. I will try hard to do my best, said James. That's a good engine. There's nothing like determination. I want you to pull some freight cars for me. James was delighted and puffed away. Here is your freight train, James, said Thomas. Have you got some bootlaces ready? And he ran off laughing. Oh, said the freight cars. We want a proper engine, not a red monster. James took no notice and started as soon as the conductor was ready. Come along, he puffed. We won't, screamed the freight cars. But James didn't care, and he pulled the screeching cars sternly out of the station. The cars tried hard to make him give up, but he still kept on. Give up, you can't pull us, you can't, called the cars. The last cars were running backwards down the hill. The coupling had snapped, but the conductor stopped the cars and got out to warn approaching engines. That's why it was easy, said James, as he backed the other cars carefully down. What silly things freight cars are. There might have been an accident. Then James saw Sir Topham Hatt, but Sir Topham Hatt was smiling. I was in Edward's train and I saw everything, he said. You've made the most troublesome train on the line behave." One night, Henry and Gordon were alone with James. Although Sir Topham Hatt was beginning to think well of him, whenever a chance came, the other engines would talk of nothing but bootlaces. "Remember when they had to use a bootlace to get you out of trouble, James?" they would tease. James tried to get back by talking about Henry, who got shot up in a tunnel, and Gordon, who got stuck on a hill. But they wouldn't listen. Every wise engine knows, of course, that the signalman sets the switches to make the engines run on the right tracks. But Gordon was so proud he had forgotten. Sir Topham Hatt was on the train with other important people, and as soon as they heard the conductor's whistle, Gordon started. He pushed some freight cars into their proper sidings and went to fetch the coaches for another train. James had just brought the coaches to the platform when he heard a mournful noise. There was Gordon trying to sneak into the station without being noticed. Meanwhile, all the passengers hurried to the ticket window. "We want our money back," they shouted. But Sir Topham Hatt climbed onto a cart and blew the conductor's whistle so loudly that they all stopped to look at him. Then he promised them a new train at once, said Sir Topham Hatt. "Hurry, hurry, hurry," puffed James. And Sir Topham Hatt was very impressed. Next day when James came by, Gordon was pushing freight cars. "I like some quiet work for a change," he said. "I'm teaching these cars manners. You did well with those coaches, I hear." "Good, we'll show them." And he gave his cars a bump. Gordon never talks about bootlaces, and they are both quite agreed on the subject of freight cars. Annie can only take passengers, but Clarabel can take passengers, baggage, and the conductor. They don't mind what Thomas says to them, because they know he is trying to please Sir Topham Hatt, and they know, too, that if Thomas is cross, he's not cross with them. How can I run my line properly if Henry is always late? He doesn't realize that Sir Topham Hatt depends on me. "Rubbish," said Thomas. "You're too slow. You need exercise." The conductor blew his whistle, and Thomas started so quickly that he left him behind. The conductor waved his red flag to stop Thomas, but he was well on his way, steaming out of the station. "I've lost my nice conductor! I've lost my nice conductor!" she sobbed. "We haven't a conductor! We haven't a conductor!" Annie and Clarabel tried to put on their brakes, but they couldn't without the conductor. "Where is our conductor? Where is our conductor?" they cried. But Thomas didn't stop till they came to a signal. "The conductor will tell us in a minute." They waited and waited, but the conductor didn't come. "Peep, peep, peep! Where is the conductor?" whistled Thomas. Everyone looked, and there he was, running as fast as he could along the line with his flags in one hand and his whistle in the other. "I am very sorry," said Thomas. "We all make mistakes," replied the conductor. Annie and Clarabel were so pleased to have their conductor again that they sang "As fast as you like, as fast as you like" to Thomas all the way. Thomas often wanted to stay and watch, but his driver said no. What would Sir Topham Hatt say if we were late? Then while the conductor telephoned for an engine inspector, the driver found notices in large letters, which he hung on Thomas in front and behind. "Danger, keep away." Soon the inspector and Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Certainly, Inspector," replied Sir Topham Hatt. They all took turns at fishing in Thomas's tank, while Sir Topham Hatt looked on and told them how to do it. That was good," said Sir Topham Hatt. Autumn had come to the island of Sodor. The fields were changing from yellow stubble to brown earth, and a tractor was hard at work as Thomas puffed along. The conductor went back for help while everyone else tried to dig the snow away. "I'll try," said Thomas, and he puffed slowly away. "We've done it! We've done it!" panted Thomas. And Sir Topham Hatt has warned Thomas not to race at dangerous speeds. Henry and Gordon were lonely when Thomas left the yard to run his branch line. They missed him very much. They had more work to do and had to fetch their own coaches. The big engines thought they were too important to fetch coaches. Altogether, the engines were causing Sir Topham Hatt a great deal of trouble. Sir Topham Hatt had made them so that the tender engines can be turned around because it is dangerous for them to go fast backwards. Little tank engines like Thomas don't need turntables. They can go just as well backwards as forwards. But to hear Gordon talk, you would have thought that Sir Topham Hatt had given him a tender just to show how important he was. "You don't understand, little Thomas. We tender engines have a position to keep up. It doesn't matter where you go, but we are important. And for Sir Topham Hatt to make us do shunting, fetch coaches, and go on some of those dirty sidings, it's not the proper thing. It's no good, they said at last. Your big tender upsets the balance. If you were a little tank engine, you'd be all right. Now you'll have to pull the next train backwards. And to add to that, Sir Topham Hatt makes us all shunt in dirty sidings. Blech! Sir Topham Hatt sat in his office listening to the noise outside. The passengers were angry. Indeed, said Sir Topham Hatt, we cannot allow that. We won't shunt like little tank engines. That was Thomas's job. We are important tender engines. You fetch our coaches and we will pull them. Tender engines don't shunt. We'll see about that, said Sir Topham Hatt. No engine on my railway is too important for small jobs. And he hurried away to find Edward. Leave those freight cars, please, Edward, said Sir Topham Hatt. I want you to push coaches for me in the yard. Bless me, said Sir Topham Hatt. What a noise! They say tender engines don't shunt, and last night they said I have grey wheels. I haven't, have I, sir? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, said Percy, and Sir Topham Hatt brought him back to the yard. Sir Topham Hatt sent for me. I expect he wants help, he said to Edward. Shh, shh. Here he comes, replied Edward. They say they won't shunt like little tank engines, so I have shut them up, and I want you both to run the line for a while. Little tank engines, indeed, snorted Thomas. We'll show them. Thomas was anxious about Annie and Clarabel, but both driver and conductor promised to take care of them. At last Sir Topham Hatt arrived. I hope you are sorry, he said, and understand that every job on the railway is important. We have a new tank engine called Percy, who helps pull coaches, and Thomas and Edward have worked the main line nicely. But I will let you out now if you promise to work hard. Edward and Percy played with freight cars. Stop, 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 screamed the cars as they were pushed into their proper sidings. But the two engines laughed and went on shunting till the cars were tidily arranged. Next, Edward took some empty cars to the quarry. After a great deal of shunting, Percy was waiting for the signalman to set the switch so that he could get back to the yard. He was eager to work, but was being rather careless and not paying attention. The switch was still against him, so he couldn't move. Then he looked along the main line. So he kindly set the switch. Presently, Gordon arrived. Well done, Percy. You started so quickly that you stopped a nasty accident. I'm sorry I was cheeky, said Percy. You were clever to stop. Then Gordon helped pull Percy out from the bank. The two engines are now good friends. But Percy is always most careful when he goes on the main line. Sir Topham Hatt spoke to him too. What's wrong with you, Henry? You have had lots of new parts and new paint too, but they've done you no good. If we can't make you better, we must get another engine instead of you to do the work. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting when Henry came to the platform. He had taken off his hat and coat and put on overalls. Henry is a bad steamer, he said to Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt and the fireman went on discussing Henry's troubles. What do you think is wrong, fireman? Asked Sir Topham Hatt. It's expensive, said Sir Topham Hatt, but Henry must have a fair chance. No record breaking, warned Sir Topham Hatt. Don't push him too hard. Don't tell Gordon, but I think if we pull the kipper nicely, Sir Topham Hatt will let us pull the express. The special coal they gave you is working well. Men hustled and shouted, loading up the crates of fish. Come on, don't be silly, puffed Henry to the freight cars. The cars shuddered and groaned, trock, trick, all right. They couldn't know the switches from the main line to a siding were frozen, and the home signal should have been set at danger, but snow had forced it down. A freight train was waiting in the siding to let the flying kipper pass, and the driver and fireman were drinking cocoa in the caboose. The kipper is due, said the conductor. Sir Topham Hatt came to see him. He takes freight cars from farms and villages to the main line and is cheerful to everyone he meets. It's not fair at all, she grumbles, remembering she used to be full and 9 cars would rattle behind her. Now there are only 3 or 4, for the farms and factories send their goods mostly by truck. Cars, buses and trucks often have accidents. He was, of course, Sir Topham Hatt, but Toby didn't know this yet. That's a tram engine, Stephen, said Sir Topham Hatt. "Stop," said Sir Topham Hatt to the conductor. They all scrambled into Henrietta. He was proud of being a steam train. "What is your name?" asked Sir Topham Hatt. The children came every day for 2 weeks. Sometimes they rode with the conductor, sometimes in empty cars. All were sorry when they had to go away. And Sir Topham Hatt and his family thanked everyone. Toby had few cars and fewer passengers. Next morning, the shed was flung open, and old Toby woke with a start to see his driver waving a piece of paper at him. "Wake up, Toby," they shouted excitedly. "The mail has just arrived, and there is a letter for us from the stout gentleman. Maybe it's good news." He had been a great friend of the officer who had just retired. Thomas expected that the new officer would be friendly too, but was sorry to see that he didn't look friendly at all. Sir Topham Hatt was having breakfast. "Bother that telephone," said Sir Topham Hatt. At the station, Thomas's driver told Sir Topham Hatt what had happened. Sir Topham Hatt spoke to the policeman. Sir Topham Hatt felt exhausted. Sir Topham Hatt stirred. Then he laughed. "He takes freight cars from the farms, but the trucks are taking over most of his work and he needs a change. He has cow catchers and side plates. I'll write to his superintendent at once." "That's a good engine," said Sir Topham Hatt. "No, indeed," said Sir Topham Hatt. "We couldn't allow that. Toby made the silly cars behave even better than Thomas did. It was a slow freight, stopping at every station to pick up and set down cars. James hated slow freight trains. Dirty cars from dirty sidings. Blah! Starting with only a few, he picked up more and more cars at each station, till he had a long train. At first, the freight cars behaved well, but James bumped them so crossly that they were determined to get back at him. Heavy freight trains halt here to set their brakes. James had had an accident with cars before and should have remembered this. The freight car's chance had come. On, yelled the cars. He was more dirty than hurt, but the tar wagons and some cars were all to pieces. Toby and Percy cleared away the unhurt cars and helped James home. Sir Topham Hatt met them. He turned to James. "Fancy letting your cars run away. I am surprised." "Peep, peep, peep, peep. Hello, lazybones," whistled Henry. "Is it coaches or freight cars?" "Cars," said his driver. "Cars," said Gordon. "Puh." They telephoned Sir Topham Hatt. "Oh, leave him where he is. We'll get him out later." One day, Thomas was at the junction when Gordon shuffled in with some freight cars. Thomas left the coaches at the station and went off to the mine for some cars. Their roofs are strong enough to hold up cars, but not the weight of engines. The fireman went to throw the switch. Bumping the cars fiercely, he jerked his driver off the footplate and followed them into the siding. "And a very naughty one, too. I saw you," said Sir Topham Hatt. "Please get me out. I won't do it again." And you and Toby gave her presents. Percy joined in, and Sir Topham Hatt sent her to Bournemouth to get better. Everyone was getting very excited. The drivers felt sure that Sir Topham Hatt would agree, as indeed he did. Sir Topham Hatt had bad news. "Well done," said Sir Topham Hatt. "I'm really proud of you all." It was a beautiful morning on the island of Sodor. Thomas the Tank Engine's blue paint sparkled in the sunshine as he puffed happily along his branch line with Annie and Clarabelle. A large hopper was loading his freight cars full of coal. "Watch out with those silly cars." Go on, muttered the cars. "Help, help!" cried Thomas. Fancy a really useful blue engine like Thomas becoming a disgrace to Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Next day, Thomas was feeling more cheerful as he watched Percy bring his cars from the junction. The cars were heavy and Percy was tired. He was taking empty cattle cars to a market town. Oh, screamed the cars. Edward puffed and clanked. The cars rattled and screamed. A coupling was broken and some cars were left behind. Bother those cars, he thought. Why can't they come quietly? Old Toby was cross. At the next station, Henry's conductor told them about the cow and warned the signalman that the line was blocked. That must be Bluebell, said the porter. Her calf is here, looking for her mother. Percy will take her along. Sir Topham Hatt works his engines hard. but they are very proud when he calls them really useful. The scrapyard is full of rusty old parts and machinery. They are broken into pieces, loaded into cars, and Edward pulls them to the steelworks, where they are melted down and used again. My driver says I only need some paint, polish and oil to be as good as new. But my owner says I'm old-fashioned. Sir Topham Hatt says I'm a useful engine. My owner would send us from farm to farm. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. Sir Topham Hatt has work for you at his new harbour. I'm to take you to meet Thomas today. Sir Topham Hatt has a job for me. Workmen coupled Trevor's car to Thomas's train, and soon they were ready to start their journey. I'm glad Sir Topham Hatt needs me, called Trevor. Cars had been derailed, blocking the line, and stone slabs lay everywhere. Sir Topham Hatt says that the work in the yard is too heavy for me. Hello, Percy, said Sir Topham Hatt. You look tired. You look the right way up to me, laughed Sir Topham Hatt. What's your name? Asked Sir Topham Hatt. Sir Topham Hatt was looking forward to hot buttered toast for tea at home. Duck and Percy calmly sat on the switches outside the shed, refusing to let the engines in. Gordon, James and Henry were furious. Stop that noise! Bellowed Sir Topham Hatt. Quiet! Called Sir Topham Hatt. As for you, thundered Sir Topham Hatt, you've been worse. You made the disturbance. Well done, Percy. Sir Topham Hatt is very pleased with us. He collected his freight cars and started off, still fuming. Percy pounded along. The cars screamed and swayed. Hurry, 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 he panted to the cars. Peep, peep, peep. Brakes, conductor, please. But Percy with his stone cars did the trip in record time. Edward must take you to the works, said Sir Topham Hatt. Then Sir Topham Hatt spoke to Duck. The conductor, driver, fireman and passengers were all stranded on the platform. This shed is for Sir Topham Hatt's engines. Go away. One day, he whispered to the cars, will you give me a bump when we get to the quay? The cars had never been asked to bump an engine before. On, laughed the cars. Percy thought they were helping. I'll pretend to stop at the station, but the cars will push me past the board. Every wise engine knows that you cannot trust freight cars. I hope it will teach you to take care of yourself. Next day, he was sent to the works on Henry's freight train. The cars and coaches behaved well. The passengers even stopped grumbling. I'm Great Western and don't we know it? Ray groaned. I'm Great Western and don't we know it? Sir Topham Hatt introduced him. You're worthy, Top. Sir Topham Hatt to you, ordered Duck. Oh, said Duck, if you're Rever Thingamy, perhaps you would collect my cars while I fetch Gordon's coaches. When Duck returned, Diesel was trying to take some cars from a siding. They were old and empty. Oh-wee! Oh-wee! The cars groaned. The cars jerked forward. Diesel recovered and tried to push the cars back, but they wouldn't move. Duck ran quietly round to collect the other cars. All the cars were laughing and singing at him. Cars waiting in the yard when he pulls the wrong cars out. The freight cars would not stop singing rudely at him. I'm sorry our cars were rude to you, Diesel. We engines have our differences, but we never talk about them to the cars. Next day, he spoke to the cars. Ho, 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 guffared the cars. The cars had been cheeky and troublesome. You tell tales about us to the cars. Sir Topham Hatt came to stop the noise. He made cars laugh at us, accused the engines. Sir Topham Hatt recovered. I see, said Sir Topham Hatt. Diesel has been telling lies about me and made Sir Topham Hatt and all the engines think I'm horrid. I know you aren't, and so does Sir Topham Hatt. You wait and see. Why don't you help me with these cars? The cars were silly, heavy and noisy. It was a conductor's warning whistle. Hurrah, 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 laughed the cars. They raced through Edward Station, but the cars were catching up. Duck put every ounce of weight and steam against the cars. The silly cars had knocked their conductor off his van and left him far behind after he had whistled a warning. But the cars didn't care. They were feeling very pleased with themselves. Thomas was helping to pull the cars away when Sir Topham Hatt arrived. I appreciate your feelings, said Sir Topham Hatt, but you must know that this engine and his crew have prevented a serious accident. You were very brave indeed, said Sir Topham Hatt. I'm proud of you. Sir Topham Hatt watched the rescue operation. Then he had more news for Duck. Sir Topham Hatt did not want to close the railway while the work was done, and so repairs took a long time. They dither about on the viaduct and then blamed Sir Topham Hatt's workmen. Later, he boasted to the others. Driver says I don't need him now, he told the others. Then the Scottish twin engines, Donald and Douglas, arrived. You're in a lot of trouble, Thomas. It was only a pretend ghost story. I slept in the freight shed and, in the summer, the work crews cut the long grass along the tracks, raking it into heaps to dry in the sun. Time's time, and Sir Topham Hatt relies on me to keep it. Passengers will complain, and Sir Topham Hatt